I was born not on these fine shores, but across the water on a small foggy island known as Great Britain. I travelled here with my family in the early 90s when I was 4 years old, and I've lived here most of my life. I love Australia. It's as much my home as it is anyone else's, and I'm very, very proud to be part of such a rich and prosperous culture. That said, why are the powers that be such pussies? Now, I know that many countries have a tendency to ban or censor at least parts of some video games, but Australia is definitely close to the top of the list when it comes to embracing this practice. If something could be deemed offensive, you can bet your finely chiseled ass that Australia will be there, lubing up its throat in anticipation of choking on a big fat veiny ban. We finally acquired an R18 rating on video games 2 years ago when the government decided that we're all grown-ups, and that's just great. It was about time. Saints Row 4 was denied classification in Australia on some very shaky, very bullshitty grounds. One of the reasons cited is that the game includes elements of illicit or prescribed drug use related to incentives or rewards, referring to a mission in which a character takes an alien drug in order to gain superpowers. Really? Really, Australia? I'm an adult. In fact, everyone who is legally able to purchase the game is a fully grown human. I'm very much aware that taking drugs is not likely to give me superpowers. It's a cocking game! Are we so sheltered down here at the bottom of the earth that a grown adult can't choose to take an alien compound that changes his or her DNA in a video game that's not real without it somehow causing harm to that person's psyche in actual real life? Just consider that Far Cry 4 wasn't denied classification and it's basically a game about taking drugs, and it displays the act in a far more realistic fashion than Saints Row 4. You can see animals through the jungle, breathe underwater for long periods, or seal gunshot wounds instantly like Wolverine. Does that in any way impact my opinions or perception of real-world drugs, like heroin or meth? Hell no! And they've spent money on censoring this stuff. They're spending real cash right now! Money that could go into actually making better games. Another far funnier reason for the denial is a weapon called the Rectifier that's basically just an alien probe. Look it up on YouTube, I don't have any footage of it here. Its use involves sticking it up someone's ass and then launching them off it like a rocket. I obviously thought it was pretty funny, however the powers that be thought not so much. These acts are interactive visual depictions of implied sexual violence, which are not justified by context. Context? The game takes place in a Matrix-esque cartoony simulation about aliens, superheroes and ridiculous powers, where green-skinned people and dildo baseball bats regularly feature, and people are worried about a character using an alien probe in a violent game with aliens in it. In this game you can kill people in a variety of ways. It's ridiculous. The people aren't even real, even within the context of the narrative, and let's face it, the asshole is really just another orifice. There's nothing sexual about this weapon's use. I'm not thinking about butt sex when I use it. It's simply another funny, over-the-top method of killing a fictional character in a video game. People really don't like probing, actually, come to think of it. The excellent South Park The Stick of Truth came under fire and was forced to remove probing scenes from the game in a number of countries, including Down Under. I've watched the scenes on YouTube and they're pretty damn tame as far as they go on South Park. You can find far edgier content on the TV show as well as in the game itself. I mean, what about when you get shrunk down by the underpants gnomes and you find your parents having sex, and you're crushed by your dad's flopping ballsack and asshole? And you're worried about an alien probe? I could literally go on the internet right now and at the push of a button have for my viewing pleasure some very, very legal images of some very large probes going into whatever holes I choose to view. Not to mention people shitting and pissing on each other for pleasure, or tying each other up and choking each other to the point of unconsciousness. And that's all legal to view for people over 18 years. If someone wants to view something, they will go and find it, and it's the same with video games. That's the worst part. It's not of any benefit to the people who wouldn't have bought the game anyway. The South Park and the Saints Row fans are the only ones who suffer, and no one really benefits from it. South Park fans expect outrageous content and we're never going to be affected by it in a bad way, because we're over 18 years old, we're adults. Same for Saints Row fans. We expect dildo baseball bats and alien drug use and superpowers. The people who didn't want to view the content were never going to buy the games anyway, and are likely not even gamers. I mean, I can't say that for sure, but you know, they're probably not. A censored version of Saints Row 4 was released, and that's great, at least we can still play the game. However, great news for PS4 users, an uncensored version of the game was accidentally released digitally recently, and is still available in Australia. This is footage of it right now, so get on it. It's awesome, anal probes and all. See you next time.